Now, one more thing, which is probably there's going to be a lot more than just one thing. But I'm going to touch a bit about you were saying that I put information out there and it just floats around and it goes around in a circle and accomplishes nothing, and I don't know how to create anything, and out of nothing I think that's real. Like, all of what you said really doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Like, that just seemed like a garbage mess that had zero logic to it whatsoever, but somehow you see logic in that. But you know, from what I can see, just the conclusion I can make from the statement that you made is that you're saying that I don't know how to create, which is dead wrong. Um, I come with a life experience, and part of that life experience is saying, I'm going to make this happen. And 2 weeks later, it shows up. And anything that I was saying, I'm going to make this happen, everybody said, that's impossible. You can't do that. And I'll give you a couple examples. I at one time wanted, I was working with doing some art with an airbrush broke, and instead of, oh, everything always breaks down, nothing ever works, like, I could just see my brain taking that direction, and I just chose to take, no, this is something good, don't know what it is. And all of a sudden this thing came over me because I was loving my life during a bad experience, and just said, God wouldn't show me I was that talented and take the tools away. God's mailing me an airbrush. And for 2 weeks, I kept telling everybody that God was mailing me an airbrush. I had a lot of fun with it. And 2 weeks later, an airbrush was mailed to me. I then was another time living in low-income housing. I had an ex-husband that really wasn't too concerned with family. Um, we had 4 children. He was trying to start a career, and we were being subsidized by welfare. I didn't really love the experience. I was living in low income housing, and I wanted to buy a house. And I was living in the most expensive area in Canada. So the houses were friggin' expensive, and I had zero money, no savings, bad credit, no employment, and I was telling everybody, I'm getting a house. And believe me, everybody that knew my financial situation, knew what my credit was, knew everything about me, thought, there's no way you're going to be able to get a house. But 2 weeks later, a house showed up. So I do know how to create. And but people tend to judge whether I know this or not. And it's like, no, when you can understand what made that happen. And at the same time, I had a life experience of abuse. My father was abusive. I married abuse. So it's like I had to understand what made this great impossible thing happen within 2 weeks, and what was it that I created to attract that abuse. And when you can see yourself how you did both, you can really see how you're a creator. And so that's the knowledge that I'm coming from. And I do know how to create. And the thing that I'm working on right now is called bottled intentions. It's in a development stage. I haven't put a date as to when it's going to unfold. It's a really big global thing that I'm trying to create. And it is a loving thing that I'm trying to do, and not a controlling thing. It's sort of like, okay, I see all of the things that are missing. We're all lacking basically intention for self. And instead, we're pushing out intention. And so, like, I'm doing this in a way where people actually want to do this. Not that I'm pushing anything on anybody. I won't use any, like, I could have used this concept and got investors. But it has to be a free thing. it is a way of doing similar to what you're doing, but more, it's bigger and on a global scale. And if you say, I don't know how to create, you just watch because something's going to be created. But basically, it is a concept of you need to develop the love within yourself by feeling. What does love feel like? And if you're drinking water, it's just the water is just something that interrupts your thought processes and says, okay, in this minute in your life while you're drinking this water, you are supposed to feel what it feels like to feel love. And basically the body, it's very scientific that if you force yourself to feel something, then your brain has to actually make that chemical. And if you're doing it every single friggin' day, then you start to get addicted. We are addicted beings, you know. We're addicted to everything. We're addicted to money. We're addicted to drugs. We're workaholics, you know. Everything we do with an addiction, but we don't know it. And those addictions we have are based on our belief systems, and they actually do kill us because we don't shift around. We're stuck in our belief systems that don't function. um so basically that's what I'm introducing, and it's like I ain't looking for fame. I ain't looking to start a corporation. It is something, though, that can pull the wealth out of the wealthy and distribute it equally. Not by me owning a corporation, but by anybody who drinks out of it is the owner of it and the controller of it. And this is a concept that will give money back to those drinking it, not in a way of a salary, but it's sort of like the concept of one loaf of bread can feed the whole friggin' planet. How can everybody, you know, if you started raising money off of every drop everybody drank and you put that in a pool, you're going to collect a hell of a lot of money. Now, you can't equally give out that money like a paycheck, and that's sort of um, defeating the purpose. But what it does is you find your purpose and we'll fund you. And yes, if it's done in somewhat of a loan, you are the owner of your own bank and you want to make sure your bank works. So you do need to have it in a form of a loan, but not a loan that you're even going to notice the difference. You know, pay 1 penny a month, you know, until your loan is paid back. It doesn't matter to me. No interest. The bank does not need to make any money off interest. It just loans you the money for you to develop your own personal purpose. And once you are established, with the assistance of the group wants you to succeed. So the group would do everything to support you in your purpose, not my purpose, but your purpose. And then once you are established and get successful, you can afford to pay the money back. You know, 1 penny a day, you'd never even notice it, but that 1 penny is putting something back into it. So this bank is making regular money at all times if everybody keeps drinking water, and we're all human beings that drink water. And if any money that goes out actually comes back in, there's that bank is constantly, perpetually, always, always, always increasing, never ever decreasing. And so that means that anybody that has a purpose, anybody that's going to develop into their personal purpose, this is a source where you're going to be encouraged to be who you need to be. So, and this is not something that I'm doing for myself. I'm not trying to go out there and push this on anybody and say, this is the way it's got to be, this is the only way out. No, it's only my idea. It's just a concept. It's just an idea. We are a planet of billions of people that everybody has to be in agreement of something that works for everybody. So I ain't about to go and find some greedy guy that wants to start up a corporation and make a ton of money off of something like this, because that whole process of doing that would sort of make it not work in the first place. It can't be something that one person owns. I would never own something that powerful. And I would not want to be the leader of anything because I could be wrong about something. And then if I was the leader of something and I was wrong, I'm personally responsible for the lives that I damage, which is what Pullman's doing. If he's wrong in what he's doing and he's actually causing a lot of harm, that blood is on his hands because he wants to be the leader. So there's a great deal of responsibility when you want to stand on top of that mountain and control everybody else's life. All you look like is a greedy, controlling person that has zero lack of control of self. I would never want to put myself in that position. And I can see it with anybody that's a leader. Anybody that's a public motivational speaker, if you can kind of see, even like Tony Robbins. There is one guy that is really doing a hell of a lot of damage. Why? Because he was a kid that was poor, and his transformation of poverty was to be great wealth, not recognizing that the wealth that he has, that he turned into, was exactly what caused him to have poverty in his life. Somebody else was really greedy and created him to be living in poverty. So instead of actually transforming what causes poverty, he actually turned into the cause of everything that creates poverty. And he made a huge, massive living out of teaching everybody to be as greedy as he is. So the more successful Tony Robbins was, the more poverty was created in our world. And, this guy's even saying you need a mentor. And a lot of his mentors are really, really successful businessmen that were always heavily involved in war. And once the destruction of another country, they came in and dominated their economic system and got wealthy. And Tony Robbins is saying, be like that guy. So Tony Robbins has a lot of blood on his hands. Every dollar that he's got, he's personally responsible for the lives that he's destroyed. And he doesn't see that yet. Now, when I see that in all leaders, because I was searching for information, and, you tend to see a lot of leaders out there, and their information is dead wrong. And it's like, oh, while going through all of this experience, I've gathered a lot of information, and that's exactly what everybody else has done, is they've gathered information, thought they came up with an answer, and then they put it out in the world. That's what we're all doing. So I searched and did a lot of, research and have an idea, and now I'm putting it out into the world, the same as what everybody else is doing. So ironically, I do see that I'm putting myself in the very position that I hate the most, which I'm trying to avoid at all costs, which is why I don't want my channel to be big. I want it to be very, very small because I love the interaction. I love finding out where I could be wrong. I'm interested in personal growth. The only way I can personally grow is if I put information out there and somebody smarter than me can point out my own insanity. I'm open to it because that's the only way I'm going to find growth. So some of the things that I'm trying to do to avoid being that leader is I do put a lot of this information out there free. I'm not selling it. Anybody can use what I use free at home and see if it works for them. I think that it's word of mouth spreads a lot faster. That whatever it is that I'm saying, if you happen to agree with it, you'll talk about it. And that's how it gets spread. Not necessarily from, oh, I need to go to this one person, although I can probably see that. But my message would always be, I am not your leader. I do not have your answers. The only thing that I can tell you is you've got your own answers, and I'm only here. My only purpose in life is to help support everybody else live their purpose while still demanding that I live my purpose. And I'm looking for other people to support me in my purpose, and I can then support everybody else in their purpose. And that's how the game is supposed to be played, is we're all supposed to be supporting each other, but still have those boundaries that you don't lose yourself. I'm a people pleaser. It's a disease. And while being a people pleaser, you're so concerned with pleasing everybody else, you forget to please yourself. So I am definitely have to watch my boundaries and make sure that I'm constantly at all times living my purpose. And I'm just looking for people that support me in living my purpose. I happen to think that it's probably a good thing if we teach everybody how to live their purpose. But I'm not out there trying to push this information. I'm just trying to be the example. And what works for me, if it works for me, then maybe it'll work for somebody else. But it's only by living through example do you teach, not by preaching. Peace out.